Welcome back to the 757 Spy Flight Deck. We got a brand new airplane. Okay, well, the airplane itself isn't new, but it finally dropped. Talking about this on the last Cold and Dark video that I did. It's kind of hard to see under the jetway, but that is the PMDG 737. A lot of people have been really excited about this airplane. Flown it about 3 times right now, and I've got to tell you, it is a 737. Hello, I'm Dave. I do the Spy Flight over on Twitch, and thank you for coming by. This is going to be my first look, sort of half first look, half cold and dark video on this really, really amazing airplane. We are at Denver International Airport right now, and the one thing that I've done with this is I have a state set for this airplane, and it's a cold and dark state, but it does have a ground power unit plugged in. I'll show you where that comes in there. But let me tell you a little bit about today's flight right now. We're going to keep it super simple as we always do. Yep, this is a complex airplane. I think that this airplane levels up Microsoft Flight Simulator, and it really is a good airplane, a good solid jet if that's what you're looking for. Several rabbit holes. We're going to go hop down a few of them, but not all of them. The best thing for you to do is stop this video right now, go load up your simulator, and fly along with me. The best thing that you can do is pause and restart the video, even rewind it if you miss something. That way you can follow me along, punch the buttons that I'm pushing, and maybe that's going to help you. Then I do suggest that you do your hometown flight. It's like I'm going to actually do. This is sort of a hometown flight for me. This is just a way to see some hometown landmarks and kind of just drives it all home. And then, of course, join us over on the Spy Flight on Twitch. We're going to be flying this all this week. One last thing that I always like to say is this is not about the right way versus the wrong way. This is all about what works for me, and it's worked for me, and maybe it'll work for you as you try and start learning more about the airplane. What about our flight today? This is going to be a flight from Denver to Billings. We're going to take off on Denver runway 25, cruising at flight level 350. This is going to be one of those SID to star flights. So we're doing the X-Wing SID, the Bighorn star, and then landing Billings runway 28 right. It's an hour and 1 minute flight. And basically it's 417 nautical miles. And it's also a real world flight too. If you're looking for things to do in flight sim and stuff like that, one of the things I suggest is go to your favorite real world flight tracker and go and find a flight that you'd like to do. And this one's actually going to be departing in about 4 minutes. We got the gates that this airplane's going to use. We know the general flight plan. In fact, his flight plan's the same thing that we're going to be doing. They're filed for flight level 280. I'm filed for flight level 380 on mine. But again, just going and flying alongside a real world flight with a real world airplane is actually one of the cool things that you could do on this. A couple of other resources that I'm using here. This one is a really nice one. This is called METAR TAF. And METAR TAF is a great way to visualize what the weather is going to be doing. Link's going to be in the description. You'll get the actual METAR, that's the pilot weather report there, the current weather conditions, but it also shows you what to expect. So we're going to have a wind from the north. It's going to be trying to blow us to the left, and it's gusting up to 17 miles, so it's going to be a little gusty there. Another link that I'll put into the description is this thing called DIST, and this goes out and gets a real world ATIS. So this is what the real pilots are reading, and you can see that they are using departing runway 25 and runway 34 left. So you can read all of that information and follow along with what the real world pilots are doing. Plugins and additions that I'm using, I'm going to be using charts from Navigraph, also the nav data here. We're at gate Bravo 29 at the Denver Bravo concourse. This is where United departs out of. Now you might see that there's a stairway over here. So they would be using jetways. So this is something that I've got to eventually change. But let's go and hop into the best seat in the house. And right now, everything is turned off, and we don't want to turn on anything yet. But we're going to go down to the FMC, hold down the menu button. Just hold it down, and regardless of what the power situation is on the airplane, this will power this up. So you can go over here to setup. So if we go to setup, you can see my cold and dark state is set to the GPU. So cold and dark with the ground power unit plugged in and ready to go. But we're going to go to actions right now. And we're going to go to ground services. And what we're going to do is the jetway's been inhibited. So what we're going to go over here is we're going to do and see what it says PAX entry. This is page 3. We're going to click this, and it's going to send it to jetway. So it's going to change this to jetway. And if you go outside the airplane, the door's going to close and the stairway's going to go away. So we can go and we can bring a jetway over and do it the real way to do this. Here's the point of all of this is to show you all the really cool things that this airplane can do. There are all sorts of options just like this. So now that we got a jetway here, let's go and go back to the main page. And let's see if we could request the jetway. So we've got the chocks in place. Ground power is up. Let's see if the jetway is going to come out and get us. Look at that. Here comes the jetway. So now the pilots can go and walk down the jetway and get in the airplane. So you can go and set that up. This gives you all sorts of great airplane immersion, and that's the cool part about this. So looking down here, now that we got the jetway in place, we're going to go over here and let's go to return, and we'll go to the doors, and we're going to open the L1, the left front door. It's the one we all get in. And so now that the door is open, we've got everything else set up here, so we can go and start flipping switches. Now, I did a video the other day on the 737-200. This is an awful lot like that. So think of the 737-200, but with a flight management computer and glass. So we're going to follow an awful lot of the same flows. So we're going to start up here, and you can see that ground power is patched in here, but we got to do the battery first. So battery is on and guarded. We're also going to go ahead and turn on ground power. And there's ground power. Oh, don't hear anything. You know why? It's really windy here in Denver. Let's turn up the sound. Hey, there we go. I turned off the sound because, wow, is it windy here in Denver? And you can hear that. So let's go ahead and turn that off. So there is Dropgar flying probably the same thing. There's a lot of 737s. If you're wondering why the airplane's hovering out here, it's because it's probably got a different scenery package. Okay, so ground power is now plugged in. So ground power is good. The airplane's running. We've got position lights already on. So that's a good thing to have. Anything else we want to do up here? Well, let's see. Going up and down, we don't need fuel right now. We're going to just leave it on ground power. So this looks good. Coming on down here, we can turn up the panel brightness if we care. Let's also leave the emergency lights off. Let's go ahead. And what do we have here? This is chime only. So this is a chime or something like that. This is not no smoking. So I thought this was no smoking, but that's chime. So just no smoking on this airplane. We could also turn on electric hydraulic pump 2. We need to leave number 1 off. And looking around here, everything else is good. We don't need to heat up the windows. I think all is good for the moment. So we're going to look way up here. And you see these 2 alignments. So we can go and turn these to nav. So we're going to turn these both to nav. And while that's going on, we're going to look down here, go down to the FMC, and see, there's the ident. And here is our navigation data. It's current navigation data. We can go to position init. We are at KDEN, Denver International Airport. We are at gate Bravo 29. So B29 is our gate. And I'm going to take this latitude and longitude, and I'm going to set the IRS position to our gate number. And that takes care of that. Let's go to route. Okay, we are at KDEN. Got to do it again. There is a way that you can automatically, not automatically, but you can import a flight plan from SimBrief and SimToolkit Pro. I don't have that set up right now. Destination, we are going to KBIL, Billings, Montana. flight number. We are flying as United Airlines, Flight 441, as we always do. And we're going to be taking off on runway 25. And so all of that looks good. So the route is good. Now let's go. And there is no actual flight plan with waypoints and stuff. So what we're going to do is instead go to departure and arrival. And departure, it's already got runway 25 selected. So there's runway 25, but we're going to go down and find the X-wing departure. And we're going to put that in, select that, index. That's good. Let's go to the arrival in Billings. We're doing the Bighorn 3 arrival to runway 28 right. The Kuska transition, ILS 28 right. And we are, I believe, is it Hardin? I think it's Hardin. Yeah, Hardin. HRDN, Hardin transition. Grizz is coming in from the west. Okay, so all of those are good. Let's go back to the index page. And now we're going to go to legs. And here is our departure. After X-wing, we're going to, basically, after X-wing, it's direct to Kuska. So we're going to close that route discontinuity. Then it's Bighorn, Little Crow, Hardin, vectors. Actually, we can go ahead and I believe if we take this Hardin and put it on that Hardin, it'll close that discontinuity. So that's good. And then that takes us into runway 28. Activate and execute. There we go. See how fast this is going? Now, I'm probably going through this a little fast. Remember, one of the things is please, 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 stop and start the video so you can catch up. Time for us to put in passengers and stuff. So let's go back to the menu. We're going to go to FS Actions, and we're going to go to Fuel. So I get the United Airlines style of flight plan. We're going to go down here, and I need 12,008 pounds of fuel for today's flight. So let's go and see the total pounds of fuel. 12008 and click it. There's your fuel. It's in. It's done. There are other animations that you can do to load the fuel, but you don't have to do that. Let's go to return. Let's go to payload. And so what we're going to do here is you can see here's payload in the airplane now, but let's go and get our zero fuel weight. So zero fuel weight is 118,598. The short version is 118.5. So let's change this from 118.5. And what we're going to do is put that over there. And that's it. Passengers and cargo and fuel are loaded. There are other things that you can do. You can get ground carts. You can do all sorts of stuff there. But that's all you got to do. The airplane is loaded. In fact, I think if you look over, you can see 12.0. Yeah, the fuel's already in the tank. So that's kind of nice. So now that we got the fuel in the tank, let's go up here. We'll start up the old APU. And just like the old school 737, APU is here. So one click down and then one more. And when it releases, that's good enough. And it will be starting up the APU. And so if you come on back here, our APU should be starting up. And you'll even hear it on this airplane. The sounds, I'm actually really impressed with the sounds on this airplane. Default sounds blew me away on this. Up there goes the APU. And if you look up there, you can even see there's a little exhaust out of there too. There's the other airplane over there. Someone's making some noise behind us. We're getting buzzed. Not that kind of buzzed. Okay, so with the APU all set up there, let's fuel and payload is good. We're going to go back to menu and FMC. I'm going to go back to route, and now we're going to do, while a lot of this is set, we're going to do the performance in net. Now remember the zero fuel weight that I got? You can get it right off the flight plan, 118.5s, right there, 118.5, because that's what the airplane loaded, and there you go. Our cost index, that's something you get off of your flight plan. And it says there, CI. So if you're using another one, look for something, another style of flight plan, CI. That's all you need to do. So let's go ahead, and our cost index is, I'm going to go 0.5. There you go. Our cruise altitude from the flight plan. Look over here. We're going to be at flight level 380. So 380. And that goes in there. Looking good so far. Now then, reserve fuel. So if you look down here, remaining fuel, there's our remaining fuel right there. And that's the addition of FAR 15 minutes and the amount of fuel we need to get to our alternate, which is Sheridan, Wyoming. And that's going to be 5.9. So we'll come over here and we'll go 5.9. There's our reserves. Now then, that's all you got to do. But if you want to do some more stuff, you can go and do cruise wins. And that helps with some of the calculations. So in my case, this style of flight plan, which is United Airlines Flight 28, United Airlines 2018. Select that in your in SimBrief, and you'll be able to get the same style that I'm using. I'm looking down here for my top of climb, TC, and winds are going to be 237 at 90. 237 at 90. This is not the exact thing to put in, but this is this works for this one. Now you could also put your planned fuel in and versus your gate fuel, what's actually in the airplane. I'm just going to leave it like that. If you're not flying in the US, someplace else, put your transition altitude in here and hit execute. And we're good to go there. N1 limits. Okay, so this is where I'm going to go, and I'm going to pick a derated takeoff. In Airbus, that's called flex temp. So it's the same sort of thing. We're going to look at the actual temperature. In Denver right now, it's 22 degrees. Well, we want to trick the engines and make them think it's a little bit warmer so they don't work as hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do, basically, let's grab the middle lines here for our D rate. And let's make the climb. So you've got three options. You can also use some of the flight planners that will give you a D rate. I've gotten everything from 35 to 46 using an old planner called TopCat. But if you put those in, that's going to give you a D rate or a flex, and you'll be saving fuel and not, running the engines too hard. So that's just what I'm doing right now to get us up in the air. Let's go to the takeoff page. Takeoff page, usually for a long runway, I was told in chat today that they use flaps 1 for takeoff. So 01 is for takeoff. It's going to do these unable 270 knots at Bighorn. I'm not going to bother with that right now. Just cancel it out at the moment. I doubt you're going to crash. Center of gravity. I don't remember what my CG is, but on this airplane, if you just click it, it's going to put your center of gravity down there and you can plug it in. And if the QRH is on, you see we got some speeds here, and you just click those and that gives you your takeoff speeds. And you're good to go. That's the FMC on this. We're going to go ahead and let's go ahead and clear this. We can come over here and put in our final cruising altitude. If we were on VATSIM, we would put our cleared altitude, but in this case, we're going to go and put in 38,000 feet, which is our final cruise. So 36, 7, and 8. Flight level 380. Okay, that's good. The runway heading. So the runway heading on takeoff, we're doing runway 25, so that's 263. So dial the heading to 263. And you'll also see your runway down there in the little map. So that's another good indicator. So 263. Great. What about the speed here? So speed, I was told take V2, add 10, and that's your speed. So 138, so 148 is what we're going to put in here. 148 as our initial speed. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. Airplane's coming to life. We're almost ready to go. If we were on VATSIM, we would come down here and put in our squawk code that we got. Otherwise, I usually just squawk 2000 in the United States. And if we were on VATSIM, we would be squawking mode Charlie. So we'll just do that. Now that we've done that, we could also look down here and go and put the radio to 122.8 if we're going to announce our intentions and make that active, and that's good too. I did not go and do things like fire tests. You can do the fire test. So you can do fire tests and all sorts of fun things, but we're not going to bother with that right now. Altimeter here in Denver is 2991. So 2991, one of the options that I've set here is if I set the altimeter here, it sets them all in the airplane. You know what? That's just a heck of a lot easier. We're one pilot in a two pilot situation, and it just makes our lives so much nicer. Go back to the menu. Pilots are in their seats. Let's go to FS Actions. We're going to go to Doors, and I'm going to close the door. So the doors are going to get closed. And as the doors are closing, then the next thing we can do is we're going to get rid of that jetway. So return, ground services. We're going to go and release the jetway. We are on the APU, so let's trip in the APU generator. Disconnect the ground generator here. Let's get the APU bleed on. Let's turn on these bleeds too. Get some circulation here in the cabin. We're also going to turn on the window heaters. Window heaters, all that's good. Notice that the electric hydraulic pump 1 is off. Apparently you want to leave that off until after pushback. Let's see, the yaw dampers can go on too. And the door is closed, so I'm going to arm the emergency exit and guard it. Okay, looking good. Let's go back down here. Did we lose the jetway? The jetway is gone. This thing does have its own little pushback. I'm still just using toolbar pushback, so let's go pre-plan. I will learn how to use this thing's pushbacks soon. We are in Denver. Denver pushes back to the first line. They don't usually spin the airplanes in Denver. And once you do that, you can request a pushback, and there we go. Come on down here. We're going to release the ground power unit. I'm also going to look down here, make sure that my brakes are on. Brakes are on. And I'm going to remove the chocks. And I think all of that is now good. Back to init. And there is takeoff. No, that's not it. Aircraft performance, menu, FMC, cost index, performance limits, N1, takeoff. There's the page we want for takeoff. All right, so the tug is in place. The jetway is clear. The chocks are clear. We've unplugged from ground power. I've looked to see if anybody is behind us. No one's behind us. So we're going to come on up here and let's go and do anti-collision light. I'm going to ring the bell, let the cabin know that we're going to move the airplane around. Seatbelts. Seatbelts are on. Okay, anything else to deal with here? I think everything's good for pushback. I think so. I'm just looking to see. Oh, I forgot pressurization. No pressure at all here. So pressurization, this is kind of important. So our final cruise is 38,000 feet. So 38,000. Okay, look at your charts and your arrival chart, the airport chart, and it says that Billings is 3,662 feet above sea level. So 3,000. It's going to be a while. 3,000. 336. So 350. There we go. That's great. Okay, anything else I've forgotten here? Isolation valve is open. Packs are on. Everything is armed. I think all of this is good. The yaw dampers are on. Most important, the galley power is on. So that means that the beer is cold. The coffee's hot and the ice cream's frozen. I think that one of the things that I saw somebody saying is you need to turn on the left aft fuel pump for the APU. My APU's running without it. I don't know. Maybe I just burned up something. But we're going to turn on the rest of our fuel pumps. The beacon is on. We've cleared behind the airplane. I say release the parking brake. And at this point in time, the tug should start our push. It might take a second. There it is. We're pushing. Now that we're pushing, we can go ahead and clear. We're cleared for start. Packs off. Packs are off. Starter is set to both. We're going to do ground start. So that's this little switch here. And we're going to go ground. On. Look down here. And my N2 is set down here. And you can see that. It says starter valve is open. On this airplane, the new 737, you want 25% on the N2 down here. And then you do fuel. 23, 24, 25. Fuel. One of the things that I will tell you is this airplane has this low end rumble from the engines. That is not something that I have heard an awful lot in this airplane in airplanes and flight sims. This one has it, and it sounds really, really good. Just saying. Boy, does this... The sounds are pretty amazing. Okay, so there we are. We're done with the push. We'll do parking brakes. And if we look up here, you can see we got a good start on engine number 2. I say we start engine number 1. Ground start. Look down here. N2 is going up. EGT is going up. Starter valve's open. We'll watch for the oil pressure to go away. 17, 18, 25, 3, 4, and 25. Fuel. There goes fuel. There goes our pushback truck. This is a payware for Denver International Airport. I will tell you, this is a favorite airport because it really this is looking like Denver. This is looking like Denver to me. Okay, how's this? Starter valve still open. Fuel's still coming up. If you've watched a couple of the cold and dark videos, you know that I really do like panel lighting. And here is the backlighting for the main panel. So we'll turn that up. Look back here. Here is panel lighting for the center console. Really makes this it just makes it pop out a little bit more, which I really like. And we got 2 good starts on our engines. So let's go ahead and trip in generator 1, generator 2. Generators are looking good. Let's get some packs on. Packs are on. We're going to go into the isolation valve to auto, and we're going to turn off the APU bleed. So all of that looks good. They've disconnected the the tow truck from the nose wheel, so we can turn on electric hydraulic switch number 1. And at this point, we can go ahead and turn off the APU. And everything else is looking good for the moment. Come on down here. Sort of look down, do control checks. Always a good idea to do control checks. After you do control checks, look down here. Trim set to 5.63. So 5.63. Set your trim. It's just going to be under over 5. All right, that looks good. So all of this is looking really good. Good start on our engines. Everything's looking good here. I'm going to go and do taxi light is on. And all the other lights are good. Let's go ahead and ring the bell. Let the cabin crew know that we are going to start rolling the airplane around. We're also going to turn the pitot tube heaters on. I'm hearing both things. I'm hearing either leave it at auto or on. Most people are telling me to leave it on. And I think we're ready for taxi. So look down here. Parking brake is off. Feet on the toe brakes. Release the brakes. We're going to make a turn to the right. Add some power. I do have nose wheel steering set up. I do recommend that if you can. As soon as the airplane gets rolling, start rolling the throttle back a bit. Make sure nobody's coming at us. That's good. Looking over here. One of the things that I do suggest, if you've got a joystick or something like that, one of the things that I have set up on my stick is what I call return to the main view. And that is another keyboard binding to my main forward view, and it's on my stick where I can get to it. Because there's times that you just can't release. You can't let go. Both your hands are busy. And if you're like looking over here or something like that and you can't, and you need to look forward. If you can reach, if you've got a button that you can reach while your hand's on the stick, that really helps out. Might have noticed my flaps are still up at the moment. We'll do flaps in a bit. Got a little bit of throttle, not much. Looking down here, this is looking good. So flaps. One of the things is in snow states like Colorado, you leave your flaps up because you don't want to get snow and ice in it. Now, obviously, it's warming up in Colorado. The current temperature outside is 22, no snow, but I was going to just leave my flaps up so that I could yammer on a little bit about how it is that you're going to want to leave the flaps up until you get closer to the runway when you're in the snow zone. This is the de-icing area. We are looking for taxiway Delta. Actually, I think we want Golf, not Delta, to take us to runway 25. And sure enough, there's the sign over there. It says Golf, and there's our turn. So looking over there, nobody there, nobody there. Good. Most of the time, I'm pretty content in these big jets to just let it taxi on idle. Now, obviously, we've got kind of a long taxi, and there are a few hills around Denver, so you might need a little bit of help getting the airplane going. But I do like to say, you know, just a gentle thrust idle taxi works every time. Okay, so we're looking good over here. Flaps 1 for takeoff. In here, there is auto brakes. Auto brakes to RTO. Airbus, you arm your speed brakes for a rejected takeoff. Apparently, somebody was telling me you don't do that in a Boeing. So we're not going to arm them. I have downloaded a couple of pretty good manuals. This airplane comes with some pretty good manuals too. So I'm hoping to be able to get some nice flows on this airplane. But right now I'm basically just starting this airplane up the way I started the Boeing 737-200 up. Only instead of doing a SIVA, I'm doing a flight management computer. And holy cats, is that a nicer way to fly. Everything's good to go up here, no big problems. Nothing to worry about down here. As we get a little closer, we'll do flight directors. Flight directors going on. Now we're going to do LNAV and VNAV in just a second. But I think to do LNAV, you've got to be pretty close. Like within 5 degrees. Oh, apparently not. I was able to arm LNAV. So that's good. There's the big circus tent and the A concourse. We're going to go past the southwest fire station, which is up here and off to the right. As you taxi over, you'll see the fuel farm over there, and it looks like it's a little bit lower into the ground. That fuel farm is indeed low into the ground, so it's below a lot of the taxiways here. If one of those big tanks spills, the idea is with that, it doesn't leak onto the taxiways and stuff. So they've actually dug that out and put the fuel tanks down there. Everything's looking good up here. Let's go ahead and do another cabin call. Let the attendants know we're serious about doing that flying thing. This would be the time that they'd probably say, you know, seats for takeoff. More of the circus tent area, some parking, and also the Whale Tail Motel. I think it's called the Westin, but everybody I think calls it the Whale Tail Motel. Never been there. It's actually been quite a while since I've been through Denver, since before COVID. Okay, everything's looking good there. You're looking good there. Altimeters are checked and set. We've got a good view on the map here. If we were on VATSIM, come on over here and you would hit the TFC button, traffic. We can do it anyway, but we're not going to see traffic unless you're on VATSIM. Also, we're squawking mode Charlie, so we're good to go there. If you're wondering what these things are, those are the gear pins. So the gear pins are in. I have 2 buttons set up, although I think one button I cleared out and didn't do it correctly. So I've got one to engage and disengage the auto throttles. And I use the Thrustmaster Airbus stick and throttle. So the auto throttle disengage button is the little red button on the side of the throttles. That's the right one. The left button is for thrust reversers. And the thrust reversers on this airplane that I'm using is something called hold. I believe it's hold max reverse thrust, something like that. If you go into your settings and you you just do a search for reverse, you're going to see 2 options. One of them is toggle. Toggle didn't work for me, but the other one, hold max reverse or something like that, that has worked. So that's what it is that I'm doing here. And look over here, anybody on approach to runway 25? Nope. See if anybody's on approach to runway 8. Okay, there's somebody over there. I don't think that they're actually coming here. So let's go ahead and clear ourselves onto the runway. So we're going to take the position from steady and we're going to send it over to strobe and steady. There's 4 sets of landing lights. I've basically just been using the inner landing lights for takeoff. I don't know exactly what you're supposed to use and how, but that's what I'm doing. Our ground speed right now is 13 knots. We're about ready to take a 90-degree turn. So I want my speed to be below 10 knots. And ground speed is right up there. So that's how you know how fast you're doing the taxi. And we're going to come around here. And as we line up here, landing lights, I say it's flying time. So throttle's going up just a little bit. I take them up to about 30% or so. Look at them both. Here, see if they are stable. If they are, bring them up. Auto throttle. Yep, my button worked.
Airspeed alive.
I don't know that my thrust was set.
80 knots.
Whoa, a little bit gusty here.
V1 take. V2.
Wow. Windy.
Positive rate of climb.
Okay, landing gear. Gear up. My gear handle is not working too well, so. All right, so this is looking good. Let's go and do VNAV. Command. And that's going to get the autopilot engaged. I think you ought to get the autopilot engaged as soon as you can on this airplane. Eventually, you can turn it off. But speed's coming up. We're direct Mugby, so I think this is not so bad. There's flaps up right there to let you know. We'll disengage the auto brake. Passing 7,000 feet. Speed's coming up. And that lets you know about flaps. So flaps are up. And out we go. One of the things I like to do is, even if the LNAV has taken over, unless I need to do something else, like a vectors or something, I like to set my heading to whatever is in here, just in case. So there's speed coming up to 250. And we are already on Econ Climb. So it's doing great. I believe that's the highway to Greeley and some of the water. I think that's water treatment. I'm not sure. So we don't want to crash in there. Now you might be wondering why we're slowing down. There is an altitude constraint on this departure. So over here on the X-Wing departure, we are going to be staying below 10,000 feet at Mugby. Okay, that's to keep us below airplanes that are coming in. So we've got to watch out, and it's going to keep us below. So below that at Mugby. An airplane like this with the scenery, a Microsoft Flight Simulator, absolutely blows me away. I mean, this is so awesome. Coming on out, I usually go ahead and kick on airports about now. In case we lose an engine, you know, how is it that, where can we go? We're close enough into Denver right now, but there you go. Okay, and above 10,000 feet. So let's do landing lights. Whoops. And we'll turn off that one taxiway light too. And it's also 10,000 feet, so cabin call. Flight attendants are reminding the passengers that that seatbelt sign is on for a reason. And no, it doesn't matter whether or not you had a venti instead of a grande. You can't go to the bathroom right now. And there's our departure out here. And if you want to take a look, that's what it looks like. Now the rest of our departure is going to be above altitudes here. So out we go. If we would have been talking to ATC, our top flight level here on this would have been flight level 230 on this departure. Or if ATC had told us what to do. While you're new with flight sim and stuff like that, use flight tracking here in Navigraph. That is not cheating. Get all the help that you need. Lots of 737s flying around the sim skies. And around we go a little bit more. Nothing really to do up here. Seat belts are going to stay on a little bit longer. I usually leave seat belts on till about 25,000 feet, or if it's or if you've got what's the word I'm looking for? If there's turbulence. There you go. Yeah, there's the word I'm looking for. Oh, there's flight data. I knew I was forgetting to turn that on. Sim Toolkit Pro is how you get the information on the top of your screen if you want to set that up for the live stream. This is the best part. You know, you take a look out of the windows of an airplane like this, and I gotta tell you, the scenery just blows you away. Okay, 18,000 feet, altimeters, hit standard, and that takes care of all your altimeters for you. And we can go ahead and widen out the range ring a little bit here. Passing 18,000 feet, and we're direct to Rick. And then the X-Wing, and then we're out of the Denver area. All this looks good. And we'll reset this again. Always like to keep that at the top. Okay, all of this is looking pretty good. Let's go and do a quick check of the progress. I like to look here just to keep an eye on my fuel in Billings. When we get to Billings, we should have 6.4 tons of fuel in the tank. The flight plan, remember I was telling you about in the flight plan, the remaining fuel? Well, remaining fuel is supposed to be 5.9. So 5.9 is what we are going to have. This says 6.4. We are winning the fuel game. If you stay above 5.9, that means you didn't use any of the fuel that you were supposed to only hold on to for, you know, if you had to go to your alternate or hold. And then another 15 minutes of, oh my God, we're all going to die fuel. I don't think they use that term. It should be a really, really nice flight. And, you know, if you haven't been able to hop into an airplane for a while, I've got to tell you, just this kind of scenery, an airplane like this, it's not like going to the airport, but then again, I didn't have to take off my shoes. And the coffee here at Spy HQ isn't nearly as expensive as the coffee at the airport, so we really are kind of coming out on top of the deal, I guess. We're already getting close to Cheyenne, Wyoming. Total flight time on this one's 1 hour and 5 minutes gate to gate. So this is a really good flight. Here's somebody flying a Cessna 172. And we're passing Loveland. Another really great thing to do is if you just come over here and have it in map view, and you kind of come on past here, so Fort Collins, Loveland, and Greeley. What's really nice is you can go, and if this is a if it's a part of the world that you've never been in but you're curious about, this is sort of the next best way to get to see these sorts of things. We've got an FA-18 ahead of us. Passing 25,000 feet. So now, look out the window. Yeah, okay. There's no real turbulence. So we can go seatbelts. I think technically you do seatbelts to auto. I guess I'm a control freak, so I'm just going to turn it off. So all the passengers that have been sitting back in their seats, trust me, as a passenger, you only do that once. You learn your lesson. Up and down, everything's looking good. Yaw dampers are on. Nothing funky there. Fuel pumps are on. Lights are all off. APU is off. Generators are good. Ground power, of course, is off. Nothing really to do there. Circuit breaker lights, equipment cooling, normal. Passenger signs are in good shape. Wipers are parked. If it had been raining, you would have gone to flight start or continuous start. It's not raining, so we don't need the start on takeoff. Looking up here, pressurization is good. We're not killing our passengers. Electric pumps are good. Engine anti-ice is off. We've got the probe heat on. We've also got the window heaters on. Off on this side, the recirculating fan is on. Isolation valve is on auto. Packs are on auto. The bleed is off on the APU. Pressurization is set. The lights are all good. So everything, I think, is in good shape there. Nothing is red on the engine panel, so we seem to have done pretty good there. And here is X-Wing and the end of the star. And we get a little banana line here to tell us, hey, that's the top of climb. So all that's good. The fuel usage is a number that goes up and down, so it does that sort of thing. But as long as you stay above your reserve fuel, then you're being a good pilot, and chances are, you know, you're not going to get yelled at. Didn't remember to set this. Looks like we're going to probably be cruising at about, I've noticed this thing seems to be anywhere from Mach 7.6 to 7.8. I think it'll go up to Mach 0.82. Nothing to do with the backup instruments. I haven't really done anything with the other with the other FMC. There's a number of tests that I didn't do. This was the GPWS test button. I didn't do that one. We have a cargo fire test over here. Let's see, there is a fire. Here's another test button. So you've got all sorts of little test buttons that you can go and run. I'll be, over the course of the next week or so, diving into some of the manuals that came with this airplane. I'll also probably have a look at some stuff that appears to be online. I also want to go and get myself a printed copy of, a printable copy of a checklist for this airplane. Right now I've been using checklists for the MD-11, the Airbus A300, 310, Beluga, A319, all of those things. The more complex the airplane, the more important it is to use those. It's talking about passing Cheyenne and Laramie, Wyoming. So if we go outside, there's the Cheyenne area there. So there's Cheyenne, and Laramie's going to be somewhere over there. As you're going north out of Cheyenne and you kind of come up this way, there's a reservoir up here. Really big reservoir. I don't know if that's the one or not. But it's a really good sized reservoir along I-25. We're going to actually go past Casper. Well, I guess that was probably it. Yeah, I think that was it. Including a little town called Chugwater. So yeah, there's somewhere around here. I think it's like down here. But yeah, this is a huge reservoir. It's been a while since I've driven past it, but very tons of water in there. So coming up here past Laramie, we go right over Casper. Sheridan is our alternate. Passing 36,000 feet, about ready to get the alert, the altitude alert, 1,000 feet above. If you don't have Navigraph, you could also use Sim Toolkit Pro. Oh, there's that little town. So yeah, there's good old Chugwater, Wyoming. I'm gonna guess there might be somebody who's chugging something other than just water there, but you know. And there was the horn. So coming up on our final cruising altitude. Looking over here, it is 133 Zulu. That's about 7:33 local time. And if you go over and check out the flight, you can go over here and see, do a refresh. The flight that we are the kind of shadowing has already left the gate. I didn't take off at the exact time, but they are taxiing for takeoff. So again, going out to Flight Radar 24, FlightAware, and having a look at real world flights if you're trying to figure out, okay, where am I going to fly today? There's a great thing to do. And one of the things is if you're going to fly in something like VATSIM's Cross the Pond, you actually have to depart exactly on time. There's so many people flying, you have to follow an on-time schedule. So there you go. And we're going to continue on along. We're 165 nautical miles away from top of descent. And really, we're just going to cruise on along. So this is a point in the in videos like this that basically what I'm going to do is go and hit the pause button. So we'll just kind of fly along. You should hit the pause button too. And then when you're getting close to about 100 or so miles away from your top of descent, maybe more like 75 to, about 75 miles from top of descent, that's when I'm going to restart it, and we'll start doing our preparations for landing. So in the meantime, we'll just kind of leave you right there and see you in a second. Welcome back as we continue to fly off into the sunset right now. I think the other airplane that we've been kind of tracking along has just taken off from Denver. We had a really nice departure, and as we get back into the cockpit here, good to see you. Thank you for coming back. We are about 75 miles from top of descent, so this is about the time that I usually do begin my descent preparations. If we're on VATSIM, obviously ATC is going to tell us when to start down, but we got to figure that out ourselves. Right now, here is the weather at Billings. Winds are not too bad, so runway 28 right's going to be pretty good for us. There's going to be a few clouds all the way down to 9,000 feet. It's VFR, 10 miles visibility. The altimeter's 2997. So beautiful day in the neighborhood in Big Bill. As we look over here on the approach, first of all, we're not going back to Denver, so we're going to clear those charts out. And the Bighorn arrival. A couple of altitudes and speeds that we've got to hit, but maximum altitude here and speed at Hardin is 6,700 feet. So chances are, if we were talking ATC, they would tell us to descend via the Bighorn 3 arrival, Cusca transition, Hardin transition, because Billings is landing to the west. Also, we're going to need to set an ILS. Got to set it manually. So at Hardin, let's go ahead and 6,700. So that's going to be our altitude. So go ahead and just click this down to 6,700. Airplane's going to start the descent. 987, 6,700. Okay, that's good. Coming on down here, we've got to set the ILS, which is 111.5. So 111.5. That's good. Let's go ahead and I'm going to flip it on over, and the Billings VOR is 1145. So 114.5, and we're going to make that one active just so that we can go in and we're going to get a DME as soon as we start getting a little bit closer. Always nice to know how far away you are. And that's pretty much it. The other thing that we could do is we could look here on the ILS chart and see that a straight-in ILS is 3,767 feet. That's the minimums. So we can come on down here, and minimums are set to Barrow, and just hold this down, and there's a very small number on the primary flight display below the artificial horizon, and you just have to click that. You can also, I think maybe dialing it might be faster, I'm not sure. So I usually just hold it. It's a, when you have to land at an airport with a higher altitude, it's a bit of a pain in the butt. So I'm setting it as early as I can. So 3,767. So the very first flight I did was the opposite of this flight, Billings to Denver, and the minimums are even higher in Denver. So holding this button down is a annoyance. Hey, there's 2,000. My guess is that the pilots probably really did something to their wrist, waiting for this for this thing to click on over. There's 2, 8, 2, 9, 3,000. Yay! So 3,767 is what we need. There's 3, 3, 3, 4, 3, 5, 3, 6. 3, 7, and now I've stopped holding it down, and I'll dial it in myself. And 67 feet. Okay, so Barrow is set, minimums are set, that looks good. Coming on down here, it says we're 44 miles from top of descent. Go to init ref, and generally I've been flying, landing with flaps 30, and that's 132 knots, so we're going to go ahead and put this in here, and that's good. So there's information on Billings. There's the VOR, which we have already dialed in, 111.5. It's even got the correct inbound course, which is great. Gives you how long the runway is. That's really nice to know too. So all of that information is looking good. Back over here to the cruise page. Nothing to worry there. 39 miles. Let's look at the descent page. So target speed, nothing's weird there. All of that looks good. So I'm guessing all of this is pretty good. Nothing to worry about there. Progress page, nothing to worry about there. I think we're all in pretty good shape. So I'm going to leave it on cruise. And we are now pretty much prepared for the descent. This would be about the time, so we're about 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes before top of descent. the pilot would probably be getting on the PA and saying, hey, we're going to be starting our descent into Billings before too long. We'll have to turn the seatbelt sign on about 10 minutes, so if anybody's got, a last-minute bathroom emergency, now's the time to take care of it. Then they do the weather report, say weather in Billings, it's 10 miles visibility, a few clouds at 9,000 feet. It's not very windy. Temperature's 14, and so 14 degrees Celsius. I've got a little conversion scale down here, so that's about 58 degrees Fahrenheit. I know that the real pilots can do all that math in their head, but I have a cheat sheet. And we are 28 miles from top of descent. So that's kind of what we got. Now, looking outside, I'm noticing the clouds getting a little bit thicker. So one of the things is we got to be ready to do engine anti-ice. And I can't think of anything else to worry about now. We'll do auto brakes, probably auto brakes 3. As you look at this, so over here on the speed brakes, if you look at the speed brakes down here, you see it says down and armed. You can actually click this. So click armed, it's now armed. I'm going to go and do that. But that's how you arm your speed brakes for landing on this airplane. So that's good. Nothing to worry about there. I guess we get to sit and wait just a little bit longer. Other things in this airplane, you can't really walk back into the cabin right now. The door does not open. However, you can use the drone camera, and the drone camera will let you go into the cabin. There is a cabin, there are seats. It's nicely done, but being able to walk back there the way you walk back and do the way you do other airplanes and X-plane, can't really do that here. There is a jump seat right here. You can click and open out. You can also do armrests if you want to do that as well. And let's see, we can come over here. No seat, no storage on this thing, so no idea what that's all about. Let's see, what do we got over here? Oxygen mask, that's got to be for the jump seat. I doubt that jump seat is very comfortable. So probably not the nicest of seats. The good news is, if you look down here, the airplane does have cup holders. This is where the pilot's flight bag goes. So the airplane does have cup holders. And we are 11 miles from top of descent. You get a top of descent indicator there. I'm noticing the descents are pretty good, but you may need to keep an eye on it. Chances are right now it seems to be putting me out high on a descent. I don't know if that means I'm doing something wrong. And 6 miles. So we'll just kind of look over here. I'm going to keep an eye on the climb and descend meter here. We'll probably also hear the engine spool back just a little bit. There goes the throttle down a little bit. Yep, throttle's going down a little. I'm guessing it might be slowing itself down for our descent. Three miles. The anticipation is building. One mile, 0 miles. There it is. It just went into descent mode, and it's pushed the nose over. It's reducing the throttles, and our descent has begun. So, going to monitor this a little bit. We can go and make the map just a tad bit bigger. And there is our approach. You can hear the engines kind of spooling down a little bit. And if you listen on this airplane, like I was saying, you're going to hear that low end rumble, you know, the bassy, very low. Zzz. There's your silly sound for the day, but this airplane does it really well. We've got a, how are we doing on our descent meter right here? There's another one over here. So deviation from our proposed descent path. Let's see, update this real quickly, just 1 or 2 clicks to make sure that's all set. Passing 36,000 feet, and right now the airplane says we're right on a good descent path. All of that looks good. Nothing to worry about up here at the moment. There are a couple of spots that you're going to still see in this part of the world that still have snow on the ground. There was some snow that went through here a week or 2 ago. It's probably still a little snowy in some areas, higher areas, places that don't get a lot of sunshine. There is a park out here with water, and it's in some pretty deep cliffs. My guess is that's a park for splashing around in your boat, but probably not splashing around in the water itself. My guess is that's probably really freaking cold. 34,000 feet. We're doing pretty good on the descent. How's our fuel? Let's go to progress. And 7.3, we're supposed to be 5.9. We won the fuel game here. Now the last flight, I didn't win the fuel game. I was down by almost 600 pounds. So I don't know what that was. Probably just some strong winds that weren't accounted for. Looking over on legs just to make sure. Kuska, Bighorn, Little, Crow, Hardin. Next page. You good, Picto, and the runway. So we don't have any discontinuities there. Back to descent. Passing 3,000 feet. We've already checked the weather. Nothing to do there. One thing I forgot to do while before I hit the pause button was I forgot to turn the landing gear off. So on these airplanes, the gear handle, so the gear is up, down, and off. And so what you want to use is turn this off. That turns off the hydraulic pumps on this. If you wonder when you can set it throughout the landing gear, so you can extend the landing gear from anything from 270 knots to slower. And here's your flap extension speeds. So we can go up to flaps 5 at 250 knots. Flaps 10's 210. And so these, there's your flap schedule right there. And let's see, all we have to do at this first checkpoint is be above 15,000 feet. We've got a speed reduction though after that. And that speed reduction is going to be 270 knots. We're at 240 something, 230. So there will be a speed restriction. I have noticed that this airplane does handle those really well. So that's a good thing. And we're coming in here, still kind of snowy there. I think this is a little bit of the beginnings of that canyon I was telling you about. As a passenger flying in, I've seen boats in that canyon before in the summertime. But like I said, that water just looks like it's cold. And I have long since passed the age where it's fun to jump in really, really cold water. I have noticed that there's been a little bit of turbulence every now and then. So one of the things we'll probably do is let's do seatbelts a little bit early. probably noticed on this one, there's several different kinds of switches here. So see how this one, see how it just is your hand, but the seat belts were an arrow. So with this, I think you have to click. But with this one, with seat belts, you can use the thumb wheel. I actually really kind of like that. It makes clicking things easier, and that's always a good thing to do. So let's see, we got a Cessna 152 and a 737 ahead of us. Sun is getting a little low in the horizon. Chances are it's going to be right in our eyes when we're landing. But we might have some nice lights out there. And nothing else to worry about here. Yeah, nothing to worry about up there. So 10,000 feet, we'll redo the altimeters. 2997. According to the airplane, we're right on our descent path. And in fact, you can look and see the little descent banana has been showing up there a little bit. But you can also see it bouncing around. So we do have a little bit of turbulence here. I think that's got to be part of that canyon area over there. But this is a really good thing to do, is fly in your own neighborhood. Fly in your own backyard, because you'll be able to start recognizing some landmarks. I mean, that's how good the scenery is in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And as you're trying to learn how it is that all of this stuff works, these airplanes and everything, what you really get is, if you're flying in your own backyard, it just kind of makes it a little bit more real, if that's a good way to talk about a simulation. Okay, at this checkpoint here, Bighorn, we've got to slow it down to 270 knots. You can see the little bananas showing up here. Got another deceleration point coming up there. And our landing speed, yeah, we're thinking about 132. I'll bet it's going to be 130 when we get on it, when we get there. Yep, we are in good shape. We are not falling out of the sky. The wings have not snapped off the airplane. One of the things to do when you're starting in Microsoft Flight Simulator is, talking about flying around your home. One of the things to do is take off in like the Cessna from your hometown airport and fly over your house. In some cases, it's going to look ridiculous. It's not even going to be close, but in a lot of cases, it's starting to look really good. When Microsoft Flight Simulator first came out, Buckingham Palace looked like a set of cheap apartment flats. But they fixed it really quickly, and now it looks pretty good. So, also flying around and doing things like, touristy flights. More of those canyons there. Now, one of the things that this airplane does is it does have terrain radar. So we can turn on terrain radar, and that's going to be kind of nice as we come in. I'm also going to bring my map in, just a click. And there's some of the bigger hills. Can see the course heading is kind of wavering a little bit. We're getting some of those gusty winds up here. So definitely a little bit gusty. According to the flight plan that we got out of Simbrief, we're supposed to be on the ground at the airport by 2:40 Zulu time. I think we're going to make that one just fine. And we're coming up on Bighorn, and it's reduced our airspeed to 230. So that 270 knots is clearly not happening. I don't know if that's something I did or not. The auto throttle has control of our throttles here. So as we look in kind of close, I'm going to actually, since I've got the Airbus stuff, I'm going to physically move my throttles to the main detent. I'm not turning my detents on and off because I don't want to wear out that switch. I just kind of leave them on. But I'm going to move my throttles down to that first detent. And as we approach, eventually I'm going to take control of the throttles. And what this does is it gets it past the detent and makes it a little easier to move forward and backward. And I think we're starting to come up in the this area where that canyon was. And 18,000 feet, that's close enough. Altimeter here is 2997. So reset the altimeter. Hit the standard button first and then dial it in. So there's the standard button right there. The inches or hectopascals button is right on the top of setting the altimeter. So altimeters are checked and set as we come on in. Our speed's not bad. At Bighorn, we're supposed to be above 15,000 feet. We still have to make 6,700 at Hardin. I think we're going to do that very easily. There's some of the some more of the really steep canyons, and there's the lake that I was talking about, the Canyon Lake, where that super cold water is. I'll usually book a seat right in front of the wing here if I can. That's usually where I get the best view. And we've got a very nice lens flare, so I swear Microsoft Flight Simulator probably got J.J. Abrams, who loves to do lens flares, to do the lens flares because there's so many. So it says we're going to be unable to do 250 knots at Crow. So yeah, that's 250 knots. I will probably start wanting to take control of the speed here as we get to Crow, just because I'm going to want to start slowing it down, particularly on this approach. The turns come a little bit fast. So to do that, what I'll do is go over and I will hit the vertical speed button. And now I have control of vertical speed and the airplane speed. So I can go ahead and I can start reducing my speed here just a little bit. If you listen carefully, as I'm reducing speed, you're going to hear that low engine growl that I was talking about. Now we're doing pretty good. The little banana line is right on Hardin, and 6,000. That's about what we should expect. Let's knock another 10 knots off of that now. We're the only ones in the pattern, so we can start slowing it down. If it's not moving, then what we could do is we could change the rate of descent just a little bit, and maybe that'll slow us down. So instead of 1,500, yeah, it's going to move our descent out here, but if that slows us down a little bit, then that's great news. If it doesn't slow us down enough, another thing that we can do is we can go back to that 1,500 feet per minute and throw out a notch of speed brakes. And so, yep, we got a little bit of speed brake out. Hardly any. But we got a little bit of speed brake in there. Now our speed's going down. We're still going to hit 16,000 at Hardin, so that's good news. There's the extended line for the runway. Once you figure out, okay, we're going to hit your altitude at Hardin, then come on over here and see what's going to happen. So 6,700 at Hardin. After Hardin, then we'll go down to 5,000 at this little spot here called Pictou. By that point in time, we're going to get our final clearance. So you can see that we're also picking up the Billings VOR. We're 32 miles out. But now we're going to go down here and I'm going to flip it on over. And that's going to go ahead and give me the ILS. If you want, you could have put the Billings VOR. So that's 114.5. So there's 114.5. Transfer that, make it active. And now you can see there's the Billings VOR in VOR number 2, and we're 30 miles from the airport. Coming up on 10,000 feet, looking pretty good. Let's do landing lights. I'm going to go ahead and preset the taxi lights. 10,000 feet, attendant call button. Let them know that we're serious about doing that landing thing. I'm also going to go ahead and bring my map in another click. It looks like our we're at 230. That's what I wanted to be. And we can reduce the rate of our descent just a little bit, and that's looking good. So far so good. It's almost like we know what we're doing. Almost, not quite. Speed brake is armed. Auto brakes are set. I'm going to go auto brakes 3. Want to be able to make the stop here and be able to get the Echo taxiway as we come on in, so that we can come back into the gate area. United parks at Alpha 1 and Bravo 1 in this general area here. So all of those are good. We'll leave the charts out there. And we are now passing Crow for Hardin. Let's go ahead, and I would like a little less speed here. So we're going to go ahead and roll this down to 210. This is a little bit bright, so I think we're done with the biggest hills and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. There's some bluffs off to the side that you'll see, but we don't have big hills or anything like that. And I'm going to go ahead and let's continue to reduce the rate of descent. That helps me slow the airplane a little bit. Let's see, remember the flap schedule. We can go ahead and start throwing out flaps to flaps 5 at this point. So 3 clicks there is going to get me flaps 5. Looking up here, landing lights are all good. Seat belts are on. Nothing else to really worry about up there. So a couple of bluffs out here, and that's about it. There's our speed coming down there. After Hardin, we descend to maintain 5,000. Okay, looking ahead, I don't think that 747 is going where we are. There's another airplane. That 737's probably not going here. There are much more interesting airports to go to in this part of the country than where we're going. There's our 6,700 at Hardin. Our speed is good. This all happens fairly quickly. 180. There's 180. We can go ahead and do another notch of flaps. If you're like me and you tend to fold up in your chair a little bit on the when you're flying along like this, okay, there's hardened, so descend and maintain 5,000. Hit the vertical speed button, and we'll go ahead and go down. Looking good here. And are we going to make 5,000 at U-Good? Actually, we're going to do 6,000 at U-Good, so that's good. That means we don't need to descend quite this fast. So maybe about 11 to 1,200 feet per minute, because we got to be at 5,000 at Pictou here. So far, so good. Probably a little bit slower on the descent.
2,500.
And let's see, I think we can go ahead and we're at flaps 10, flaps 15 are 195, we're at 180. Let's do another notch of flaps. I think it's landing gear time. I didn't like that. Landing gear on and down. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's not annoying, is it? I'm going to go ahead and hit approach. And what's our landing speed again? 132. I'm going to make it 135. And we are coming up on 5 mile finals. So 5 mile finals shows we're a little bit low. I'm not worried. There's the bluffs. There's the runway. Real world, there's a whole line of broadcast towers over there. Really wish that flight simulators would include those. I'm sure that some official says they're concerned about putting those in there. But those are such important landmarks, and if you're a student, it really helps to see those. There's 135. There's that low grumble there. Here comes the glide slope. Here comes our flaps going out to flaps 30. We'll come over the bluff and over the Yellowstone River. There's flaps 30. And we're catching that. That looks good. There's the Yellowstone. Feet on the rudder pedals if you've got them. Get ready. Take a look also before you hit the autopilot button. See what the wind's doing to you. Right now we got a little breeze from the right. I usually like to wait and make sure that everything is nicely set up here. So Yellowstone's looking good. We're feeling good. Stabilized. Autopilot's off. Captain's got the airplane. Hands on the throttles, getting ready to go and disconnect auto throttle. Oh, a little bit low.
Glide slow.
Yeah. Quit yelling at me.
Glide slow.
This airport is indeed on a bluff.
Approaching minimums.
Yeah, wait till we get over the end of the bluff there, airplane. Then we'll be at minimums.
Minimums.
Continue. Oh, it's a Boeing. You say landing. Continues an Airbus term.
100.
Auto throttle.
$50. 30. 20. 10.
Reverse. Hold the button. Yes, there's a couple of artifacts in the middle of the scene right here. I don't know what it's all about. Now, there is a small airplane taxiway and then the big airplane taxiway. Release the throttles. So, flaps up. Speed brakes down. And welcome to Billings. Landing lights off. I'm not going to be able to grab that one. Start the turn. Whoops, wrong one. That's right, steady. Still trying to figure out that switch. That one's a little bit different. Let's go ahead and start the APU. 1 click down, 2 clicks down. When it releases, you should be in good shape. Cargo is going to be off to the right. And we'll kind of come on in here. Disarm the auto brakes. Flaps are up too, so airplane's all nicely tucked away. Yep, flaps are up, speed brakes are down. There's our gate right there. That'll work. And all of a sudden you start seeing some people standing around waiting for you here, which is kind of interesting. So all we're doing is thrust idle on this. That's all it is. So one guy was waving at us. Okay, I'm not sure exactly what that means. Haven't seen that one before. Okay, there goes parking brakes. And do we have an APU? Yep, let's put in the generators. We'll also go ahead and turn this one on. Turn that one on. Come on down here. Okay, by this one on and that one on. What I was doing the APU bleed and the APU generators. We're going to do seatbelts off now. Seatbelts are off. We'll do that taxi light. Should have turned that one off because I'm probably blinding those guys. Let's do anti-collision lights are going to go off too. And we could do a couple of the fuel pumps. See, let's also do the center electric number 1 and the pitot tube heaters. Coming on down here, we'll go down here to the menu page, FS Actions, and we can come over here to Ground Services, put chocks in place first, and then you can request a ground power cart, and then that ground power cart should be connecting. As that's going on, we can come over here, and we should, did I stop squawking here? Nope. Okay, now we're squawking standby. Ground power is good. We can request a jetway. And so if we look out here, yep, there comes our jetway. So we've got a jetway coming out. And this guy is still telling me to, I don't know, you telling me to start propeller or something? I don't know. That's a little weird. I don't remember that one. Okay, so everything else is looking good here. The jetway is now in place. So now what we could do is return and go to the doors and we're going to open up the left front door. Now, if you really want to jump back in and have more fun, you can go to the payload page. No, not the payload page. It's ground maintenance. Nope. Ground services. Okay, now there's 4 pages here. So next page, you see where it says, no, we don't need that one. Oh, number 3, see where it says 120 passengers? Put a 0 in there and put that in there, and you can start deplaning. Passengers can get off. Go over to the next page, and you need to request baggage loaders. While that's going on, put a 0 in up here for the target. Another 0 in for the target. Chocks are in place, so we can also release the parking brakes. And if you come out here, you can see the we've got baggage, and they'll open up the cargo bay, and baggage trucks will come out. You got to wait for, there goes the cargo bay opening up there. I released the parking brakes because we've got chocks in place. Here comes the one in the back. If you were to go and try and walk down the jetway, you'd know that we've got the doors open. Passengers are slowly getting off, and we've got the sun on the horizon. One last little rabbit hole to take a look at. Your total fuel is 6.1. I was supposed to have 5.9 or more. So that means as far as fuel is concerned, we actually won the fuel game. We'll go ahead and clear that little alert. We'll clear this caution. This guy's still waving at us, and everything else is good. At this point, we could also punch in ground power. And if we were leaving the airplane at this point, we would probably start turning off APUs and stuff like that. But we did it. We made it. And if you look down here, once these things are open and they're connecting certain carts and baggage loaders, these will turn green. And then you can go ahead and they will start unloading the cargo. But you still got to wait for those things to change. And there we go. Yeah, so here we have a cargo truck here. And these are all a part of what PMDG has made. So they've also set up some things where you've got stairways. And these are the ones that I know about. This airplane also comes with its own, pushback truck. So that's kind of nice. Hey, we can start unloading the forward cargo bay. And when this thing connects, then this thing will turn green and we can start that. And there you go. This is an absolutely amazing airplane. This really has been an awful lot of fun. I think this airplane is definitely going to be my new short and medium haul airplane for Microsoft Flight Simulator. We can start this now. And there goes the unloading there. And we made it. Nobody was hurt, nobody was arrested, and that's the most important stuff. Thank you for flying along. Again, as I always like to say, this isn't about the right way or the wrong way. This is just as what is working for me. I'm really new here on YouTube, so you have questions, comments. I read every one. Sometimes I respond with another video. And if I got something wrong, I also appreciate knowing what it is that I got wrong. I read and appreciate those too. If you get an opportunity, I hope you can hop in your airplane and fly your hometown flight. But I also hope you can join us over on Twitch. We live stream and fly together as a group every day, Tuesday through Sunday. And you will find us on Twitch TV 757 Spy. In the meantime, I hope you are having as much fun with this amazing airplane as I am. I will look forward to seeing you on another spy flight soon. In the meantime, thanks for flying. Have a great day. Happy flying.